now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for June the 2nd. Looking across the tropics right now, we have two tropical storms active. Tropical Storm Blanca in the eastern Pacific and Tropical Storm Choi-wan, which is moving through the Philippine Islands right now, headed towards Luzon. Both of these systems are not at their peak intensities. Blanca on a weakening trend, Choi-wan looks to be holding on to tropical storm status. Now in the Atlantic on day 2 of hurricane season, we've had one tropical storm so far, but no others on the horizon just yet, which is good news. So nothing to look at in the Atlantic, which certainly pleases some of our members. In the Eastern Pacific, it's day 18 of hurricane season, where we have Blanca and its area that it's likely to affect, all at sea of course, and that other area of interest which we're keeping on. I'm not sure why, because it's near 0% now as it drifts towards the west. In the Western Pacific, Choi-wan there is over the Philippines, north of Romblon I believe, and will pass just west of Manila and the western coast of Luzon, and now only 10% now on the other area of interest that was further east over the Philippine Sea. North Indian Ocean, I'm pleased to say no areas of interest once again here. In the southern hemisphere, we don't have a graphic for this, but there is still that area of interest down there, but chances are about to slip. This is the latest satellite imagery across the Atlantic Ocean right now, and you can see a few little interesting areas. You can actually see some rotation occurring just off the southern tip of Florida, but that is something that's not going to become anything, and indeed there is no low pressure closed isobar as far as we can see. This is the Eastern Pacific now. You can see there Blanca is front and center. That other little area is barely visible now on the bottom, towards the bottom left in comparison to Blanca. We'll just get a quick zoom on Blanca as well there. You can see how it's blowing up in those latest frames, which is interesting. In the Western Pacific, this is what it looks like right now. Choi-wan is dominating the Philippine weather, certainly in the southern and central islands. It will end up further north very soon. And in the South Pacific, things are fairly quiet apart from that big blast frontal system from Fiji through Tonga and beyond. And this is a look at the Indian Ocean. A little glitchy at the end there. You can actually see that system down there, which is trying its best to become a tropical cyclone, but I don't think it's going to get the circulation that it will need. It's probably going to remain non-tropical. And there's another image, floater imagery there of Choi-wan moving over the Philippines. Those green areas you can see there, that's huge amounts of moisture. It's been a very wet storm so far, and it's caused some flooding issues over parts of Leyte, as far as I know at least, and possibly beyond. So certainly a rainmaker, if it isn't a strong wind maker. Eastern Pacific sea surface temperatures look like this right now, 30 degrees and probably rising along the coast of Mexico. The Atlantic Ocean, a good slither now of 26 degrees along the coast of Louisiana and Texas, still lacking a little bit further east along the Gulf Coast, but warming up across the board in the Atlantic Ocean. The sea surface temperatures are really not going to be an issue once we get into the main part of the season. Indian Ocean, you can barely see the impact of Taote and Yas anymore. Sea surface temperatures have recovered and warm. In the South China Sea, very warm, 30 degrees plus. Gulf of Tonkin is an area to watch out for, 30 to 31 degrees. Philippine Sea also hovering around the 30 degree mark, a little bit more along the east coast of Luzon. Further out to sea, slightly cooler but still warm enough, all the way up to the international dateline. And these are the sea surface temperature anomalies. You can actually see along the equatorial region there, slightly below average even up to the Philippine Islands, but in the subtropics and the higher tropical latitudes, much warmer than usual in the Western Pacific extending to the Central Pac. East Pac much below average, you can see there that big blue area, and the Atlantic is around slightly above average. On this day, June the 2nd, 2010, we had this beast, which might get forgotten in future years because Cyclone Fet, Cyclone Fet A Category 4 approaching the Arabian Peninsula certainly turned out to be a very interesting storm to track. Just a tiny bit before my time. I think it was later that season that I started taking a look at the worldwide tropics personally, but peaking on this day around 12 noon local time, that image was taken. So here we are on day 153 of the year so far. The next name in the Atlantic is Bill, followed by Claudette. In the Eastern Pacific, the next name will be Carlos, followed by Dolores. In the Central Pacific, the next name on list 1 is Hone. In the Western Pacific, the next name on list 4 is Koguma, followed by Champi. In the North Indian Ocean, the next name is Gulab. Looking towards the Southern Hemisphere, will there be any surprises? Doesn't look like it, but if there are, it will be called Paddy in the Australian region, Kanga in the Southwest Indian Ocean, and Cody in the South Pacific. That's all for now. We'll have another tropical weather bulletin tomorrow night.